One of the really pertinent conversations that a lot of my friends have been having has been surrounding finances, figuring out how to deal with debt that we've already amassed or trying to avoid it, offering advice, and essentially just sharing our knowledge resource about how we've worked with, achieving wealth, how we've avoided certain parts of poverty. And, for some of us, it's how to get out of poverty and get out of the habits that create poverty. So we've kind of figured out like 4 different elements and areas that we're going to talk about. So one will be avoiding debt. Another will be accumulating wealth. The other will be paying off debt. And the fourth one will be planning for retirement. So all of these topics are topics that have to do with kind of navigating from when you're going from high school to college and then going all the way to transition to the next world. But needless to say, figuring out how to deal with finances and how to manage resources and how to set things up for your own kids, for your own families, for the future to attain higher levels of prosperity so that you can actually serve humanity better. Because ultimately, this whole conversation is about how we can empower ourselves to serve humanity to the best of our capacity. So money is not the end in of itself. It is a means. But it is a means that's very important for us to feel powerful enough to be able to actually provide the service to humanity that we really want to offer. So that's essentially why we're having this conversation. So Colby, in light of the conversations we've been having about that first part, which is avoiding debt, what kind of habits and behaviors can we incorporate or avoid regarding that to kind of move towards prosperity, starting kind of that high school to college age?
Well, I think it's really great that we're starting to talk about finances because it's something that everyone has to deal with. Increasingly, we have to deal with it at a very young age. Moving from high school into college, starting to think about what college we're going to go to, what kind of student loans we're going to take on, what kind of credit cards we're going to sign up for when we get to college, how we're going to open a bank account. Before we get into it, I just want to let everyone know that I'm not a trained financial advisor, so we're just having a conversation because you and I, think that it's valuable to talk about finances, and we're going to be bringing our life experiences into this. But if anyone has a more specific question, they should, ask it on the blog, and then we could probably refer them to a trained financial advisor to get some definitive advice. But don't go buy any stocks based on my advice. So the first thing we're going to talk about is debt. I'd like to ask you, when you're moving from high school into college, you're going to University of South Carolina, tell us a little bit about some of the exposure you had to finances when you were first getting on campus.
So my background, my upbringing was one that didn't really talk, my family didn't talk about money very much. In fact, they were kind of protective about that information and, semi-nervous. Maybe it's a generational, avoidance of talking about things financial because it's caused disruption or challenges in the past. Or maybe just a lack of knowledge makes people uncomfortable as well. But generally speaking, my family didn't seem to have a very strong grasp of finances, investing, saving. So I'm still, paying my student loans because there wasn't a college fund. My father, being a chiropractor, made lots of money, but he never really had the advice that would have made his salary, the amount of money that he was making at the time, which was pretty considerable. It would have empowered him to fund many other things, to invest, to essentially secure our financial future. And he could have easily been able to fund our businesses starting out. But that wasn't the case. And I didn't know much about credit. I didn't know anything about credit cards other than credit cards are bad, but I didn't really know why. So it's kind of like when I was in high school where people said drugs are bad. I didn't know why, so I had to go out and find out why. Now I'm in college, don't have anybody trying to advise me, no one trying to impose their ideas on me. So I remember within the first few months of the freshman year, there were all these booths. These booths were out, and it's like Citibank and Chase and all these places. And they're like, here, you get a free t-shirt if you sign up for this thing, And it's like, if you fill out this application, this takes 5 minutes and you get a free t-shirt plus something, They had all these different gifts and everything was free. And at that point, most of us were pretty broke, and could have. You'll see these T-shirts all over the place. All my peers were wearing the Citibank or Chase T-shirts because that's all that was clean at the time, because you run out. But needless to say, it was an easy way to get duped into getting these credit cards, because at that point your credit is pretty much clean. You have actually probably close to no credit at that point. But it's an opportunity for them to take advantage of your clean kind of credit history at that time and offer you usually very highly inflated APR credit cards, which, when you're a freshman in college, if you've never heard it before, what's an APR? What does that mean? Is that high or is that low? There's no comparison to be able to be made. So I feel like I wasn't in a position to make informed decisions, and therefore I made bad decisions. And unfortunately, unlike lots of other bad decisions, these kinds of decisions follow you for a very long time. I learned a lot of these things the hard way, as I'm sure a lot of my peers did. And now I'm trying to repair lots of the damage done from that time of ignorance.
Which are not visible to the eye, but which are rapid enough to be sensed by the ear.